Hey, what's up mates? This is Australia here. If there's one thing I love to do on this channel, it's talk about all kinds of different techwear brands and styles and price points. And this week is certainly no exception because we've got a jacket here from Taiwanese brand OQLIQ, and I'd forgive you for not having heard that name because they don't really seem to have much of a profile outside of their home country, unlike fellow Taiwanese brand Gorilla Group. This particular jacket comes in at $212. It's called their Kung Fu jacket, putting it in a similar kind of price range to the various Chinese Taobao techwear brands, Pupil Travel, Nosikism, Shadower, but this is potentially of more interest, not only because it's not really being stocked by the various Taobao resellers and dropshippers and stuff out there, but because this presents a little bit of a different aesthetic to all of those guys and seems to be taking things in a different and a less derivative direction. They do have their own website, but I was kind enough to be sent this one by Shellsole, who are the paid sponsors of this video, so thank you very much to these guys. They're a relatively new authorized techwear retailer, stocking a couple of different brands that you might have seen on this channel before, namely Orbit Gear and Riot Division. They're also stocking Kin Supplies, which is Orbit Gear's clothing arm, I suppose, as well as this brand here, OQLIQ, rounding out the four. They are a proper retailer, so they do have a relationship with these brands. They are holding their own stock rather than just drop shipping things from other places, and it does mean because of that nature, you might find some different things here compared to what's on those brands' official websites, particularly with Orbit Gear because they tend to make their bags in very small quantities, so if there's something that you want that's out of stock there, you might find it here and vice versa. They've also got some custom black Air Force Ones on the way, so if you want to go burgling at 5 and rooftop IG photo shoots at 6, what with that Cobra buckle, these could be the sneakers for you. Also looks like the swooshes are velcroed on, so you can go stealth mode or put them upside down or whatever you want. There is going to be a link to Shellsole down there in the description, so you can have a browse through that at your leisure. But what of our little jacket pickup here, the Kung Fu jacket? I wanted to talk about this because I feel like it's less derivative than a lot of the other techwear jackets out there. Rather than reiterating 2016 era Tech Ninja stuff, these guys are taking as much inspiration from traditional Asian garments and style. So with this jacket in particular, you'll notice it's got these triple knotted little button detailing bits that go along one side of the coat here. Aesthetically, that's the big thing that drew me to this jacket and made me want to cover it because I do think it represents something that's a bit different, and I think it's a far less cringy application of Asian style than what you would often find in these kinds of brands and around this kind of price point. However, the knot itself doesn't actually fasten the jacket, it's backed onto some Velcro. Functionally, this is objectively better in that it's far easier to undo and do up this little flap of coat, although I was actually looking quite forward to having that kind of authentic experience of pushing that little knot through a loop, kind of in a similar way to the tedious looking but cool Dutch rope system that used to be used to fasten linings or jacket inners to the outer shell. And in fact, because of the knot's positioning, you can't use them to quickly pull open the jacket either, so they really are just for looks. Although what it does do, of course, is give the jacket this very asymmetrical, this very wrapped appearance, which is noticeably different to a lot of things that are out there. But it's not just that fastens this jacket together, of course. There is a double zip underneath that. It's not YKK, and although the action of doing this up and down is very smooth and it connects pretty easily thanks to that oversized design, I have noticed that after wearing this for a bit, the bottom zip seems to migrate like 1mm up there, so you can't just pull the jacket open again, you do have to like pull the bottom zip down as well. So I certainly would have preferred YKK or Riri hardware, although saying that, I have had problems with YKK double zips as well, so I guess your mileage may vary on all that stuff. What I like about the outside, this very clean but still unusual look, does mean by extension that there's not that much storage on the outside, or indeed the inside of this jacket. You've got two hand pockets there, which in their credit are pretty sizable, and they use these waterproof zips as well, as is quite common, so they should keep the things in there fairly safe. So that's all you're getting on the outside, and on the inside there is one pocket, but it's like cut directly out of the lining, so because the opening is not that massive, it's kind of tricky to get my giant Caucasian hands in there, and I would definitely be careful of accidentally tearing the lining putting your hand in there, because yeah, it could very easily start pulling that open. So you are a little bit limited with carrying stuff with this jacket, particularly because I wouldn't really want to wear a backpack with this because it can interfere with the lines and that top knot on the jacket, and the same goes for messenger bags. You really want to wear one over your right shoulder so that it's not kind of crossing that nice line. It's certainly more for casual wear rather than totally armouring up with loads of different accessories and stuff. The hood though I quite like, and it's certainly better than most of the affordable Techwear jacket hoods. It's a decent size, decent shape, so you don't get that stupid pointy hat thing, you don't get the weird peasant hood thing where it's like weirdly close to your face, and it's got this nice cut to the side as well, designed for visibility. You can also cinch this in at the back, and this was also a system that I found worked surprisingly well, in that when this is tightened up, it doesn't actually make the hood look really tight around your head, which is pretty common with this kind of mechanism, but it still gave you that very close feeling and still gave you the articulation associated with this kind of cinching process. In this clip, the internal part of the hood is actually gripping the side of my head, but miraculously it doesn't make it look like I'm wearing a condom, which is big bonus. Down at the cuffs there's something interesting. There's a little snug stretchy cuff underneath the kind of proper jacket material cuff. I kind of like that, it's quite cozy feeling, keeps the cuffs where they should be, helps keep the heat in as well, keep you nice and toasty. It is common for Asian brands to have shorter sleeves. This is definitely not an exception here. This is a size L, which is one size up to what I would normally buy, and while I think it fits me everywhere pretty well, the sleeves could definitely do with being like maybe an inch or so longer. I am pretty tall, I've got fairly long gorilla arms coming in at about 6'2", so this kind of thing would definitely suit someone shorter than myself, I think. Alongside the hood, the construction was also something that I was happy with. This definitely feels like a step up from the other comparable brands, certainly something like Dorai's Aran, which we've checked out however many months in the past now. This has noticeably better finished seams. There's no kind of messy interiors that is quite common with those sorts of brands. Everything, yeah, it just looks much better finished. It looks like and feels like a better product. All the features feel sturdy and well attached, which is good. Only thing that's missing, I think, is a coat hook. I would have liked one of those, but apart from that, I have no complaints at this kind of price in terms of construction. The material itself feels nice to the touch. It's a soft shell material, so it doesn't have that Gore-Tex crinkly feeling. It's also quite stretchy, so when you've got this on, it feels very pliable, feels very easy to move around in it. It's definitely suited to casual wear rather than fully armouring up against the elements. Often with this kind of soft shell material, it doesn't have the same inherent water resistance of something like Gore-Tex. But it is of course DWR treated, so in light to moderate rain, you are of course going to see that water run straight off rather than start wetting through the jacket. I did find though that although my wearing experience with this is fairly limited so far, I did find myself getting quite warm quite quickly. I think that's for two reasons. Firstly, there's the polyester lining on the inside of this, which doesn't seem to have a particularly open structure, so I think it is retaining heat quite a lot, and also those cuffs that I mentioned before as well. I think they definitely do something towards trapping the heat, because it kind of feels like you're wearing a jumper or something kind of underneath the jacket. I am quite surprised I felt that way, considering this was designed and manufactured in Taiwan. It feels like really too warm for those conditions. It's a very hot and a very humid place. I certainly would have got too hot if I was wearing this out there, at least in the kind of summer season that I went. The colour is one of the more unusual aspects of this jacket. It's this faded red-brown colour, which is another thing that helps give this some of its own identity. There's not really many other brands putting things out in this kind of colour. The important thing though, it does go fine with black, so don't worry about that. I do think as well it has the potential to be worn with some other colours and in more interesting ways. Although I did try this on with some olive and some blue coloured trousers, neither of which really felt right to me, but perhaps if you're a little bit more colour minded, you're a little bit more creative than I am, then you can come out with something quite cool with this. So for that reason, I just felt like keeping the rest of the outfit mega simple was really the way to go with this, because although this jacket is not super crazy and over the top, I also think it doesn't really lend itself to being like over accessorized and like have loads of things go along with it. It's just at that cusp of having that thing that's different and interesting without being a kind of so under the radar that it's just like the base piece for you to chuck a load of stuff over the top. I just found that trying to layer this too much or put too many accessories on it just made it look a bit too busy and like there was too much stuff going on. But if you decided to wear this open, it does give the jacket a surprisingly voluminous appearance. So I think that's the point where you could maybe start to introduce some different layers areas and do some more interesting stuff there. While you do have that bigger flap on one side when it's open, it definitely loses the overall off-center appearance that it has to a massive extent when it's done up. It has to be said that everything techwear in this price bracket does have its ups and downs, and the OQLIQ Kung Fu Windbreaker is certainly no exception. However, I do think that it feels more authentic and less costumey than its contemporaries, and it feels less like you're buying the cheap or the affordable version of something else. I think this will suit someone who doesn't really want to engage in the aesthetics that the other Chinese techwear brands are putting out, but still want something that looks different and has a different design to what you would regularly find in the West. That's something that you'll find through quite a lot of OQLIQ's clothing. That kind of language definitely runs through their brand as a whole, and you will find them mixing traditional menswear and Asian things with some more technical details in a way that is different to the other brands, and I always think that that is something to be commended. In fact, they recently showed off their FW20 stuff at New York Fashion Week, which I think further sets them apart and moves them more in the direction of the Japanese technical brands, with willingness to put out more relaxed fitting clothing and a far greater range of colours. I'll put a link to that too if you want to take a look. So there you go, whether you like the look of the Kung Fu Windbreaker or not, OQLIQ is another name to put on your techwear brand list. And that is everything I have to say on this jacket. So again, thank you to Shellsole for being the paid sponsors of this video. There is going to be a link down there in the description if you want to check those guys out. And if you enjoyed the video, then please do give it a like because it's super appreciated. Let me know what you think of this jacket in the comments if you're a fan of this kind of styling. If you like the idea and the direction that OQLIQ are going, then yeah, let the boys know down there in the comments. And as always, thank you so much for watching, and we will see you in the next one. Massive thanks to everyone for their support on last week's video. It was really cool to see so many of you enjoyed it, you thought it was funny. I kind of took a bit of a different direction, something that I don't normally do, so I'm glad that that worked out for you guys and you enjoyed watching it. And I kind of enjoyed reading through some of the salty comments as well. Thanks for making it all the way to the end of the video. If you want to catch some more techwear stuff, there's going to be links going up at the top there. And if you haven't subscribed, then you should definitely consider doing so, and ring the little bell as well. Something like 10% of subscribers have notifications on. Those are rookie numbers. We've got to pump those numbers up.